What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It starts right now. We're taking you all the way up the lock. 7 games on DK, 9 on FanDuel. FanDuel did include the last 2 games in the slate, and we have an early tankathon with Utah and Portland. So that's going to be of note on FanDuel, especially on the Utah side. They ruled out a bunch of dudes. Detroit and Sacramento. I know Sabonis currently is questionable. He had the fish. Not feeling particularly well. He is questionable. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? Kindly hit that like button on your way in. Mr. Richard, always here, always prompt. Shout out to Knight's Music. Is that a UCF reference? I don't know. The way it's spelled, I think it might be. Shout out to UCF. We got the helmet just sitting right here by coincidence. It's myself, Bobby Gomes. Bobby, just the two of us. It's an intimate show. 7 gamer again for DK. Lots of body parts we'll talk about in a second. How are things?
Things are good. Things are good. It's nice to be on the show the day after Christmas with you, Dean. Nice seeing you.
Likewise.
How was your Christmas?
Uneventful. It's fine. I don't have like the big old family, and those they're mostly spread out, so I didn't see. But pretty uneventful. And I know a lot of people stress out. A lot of people travel and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people have a big shindig. Mine's pretty standard, pretty kind of boring. How about yourself? I imagine yours is more hectic than mine.
Yeah, I have a big family. We have way too many people in too small of a house, and you get all like the Christmas stress, I guess. Family stress, people talking politics, religion. Everything you're not supposed to talk about, we'll be talking about.
That's where I want to be there. I just want to be there hanging out, just listening.
Yeah.
Much more interesting than my night, for sure.
I feel like, so we watched Gladiator 2 as a family.
Oh, you rented it?
Tweeted about it, and someone was like, oh, Dean will give you clues or some other stuff. And I responded to them and said, you've never seen the first one and your clues are terrible. So I don't know how you'd give me clues about what was going on. That movie was absolutely awful. The plot of it made no sense. It wasn't in conjunction with the first one at all. I don't know. I just wasn't interested.
I don't know if it was supposed to be. I don't know. I have not seen the second one. The first one's very, very good. I will. Did you rent it like a video on demand, or you went to the theater? You probably rented it at home, right?
No, my brother bought it, and my dad almost like when he seen it was like $25 to buy it, like lost his mind.
Yeah. Because you just wait another couple months, it'll be on HBO or whatever. But I get it.
Yeah.
But if you think about how much per head, right? There's a whole bunch of people watching it, and it's not that big a deal. But I do want to see it. But I feel like it was mostly positive for most people. What most of the room there didn't like it.
I didn't like it at all. It's too much CGI.
All right.
Yeah.
It's always tough with sequels too, and also like nobody asked for this sequel. Like it's like 20 years later, also, which is maybe 25 years later.
Yeah, no one asked for it. I wasn't a fan.
But I'll definitely give it a shot. My expectations are it's not as good as the original, but like that's almost not fair because the original is so good. The best sequel of all time, Bobby, is it Godfather 2?
I think it's Godfather 2, yeah. It could be Godfather 2. Yeah. I like Godfather 2 better than Godfather 1. That was another movie we had talked about watching, but
that's a long one too. You gotta camp out for a while. They're like 3 hours long, I think, each of the Godfathers. At least the first couple.
Yeah.
Back to the Future 2, also a spectacular sequel. Shout out to Great Sports Almanac. Maybe the chat can tell us the other spectacular sequels we've not yet mentioned. Aliens. I don't think Aliens was as good as Alien, though. I think Alien was better than Aliens. Home Alone 2 getting touted in chat. All right, fair enough. Christmas movie. But, 7-gamer. We have an if-then set up for several players. You'd think with some days off, some of these teams getting the plethora of days off, we would get some players back to health. We still have Brandon Miller questionable. He hasn't played in a while. Jimmy Butler is doubtful. They're saying return to competition reconditioning. They're also saying he's not getting traded. Like Pat Riley came out and said, I don't know if you saw that note, but Riley came out and said, listen, enough of this nonsense. He's not getting traded.
I heard he was getting traded yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I think they want to trade him. They just it's hard to find a suitor because his contract's so big and he's not as good as he once was. But that's a different conversation. I think they'd be happy to trade him. They're just nobody wants to pay the price. Is my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giannis is still questionable, which is a big one for Milwaukee. Of course, if he doesn't go, Portis' price is kind of baked up through what he's done of late, but he would probably be fully justified once again. Front of him back-to-back. Ben Simmons is questionable, probably going to be resting either today or tomorrow. We'll find out at some point. Mentioned Giannis. Lillard is also questionable. And by the way, those guys are ill. They gave him illness tags. So it's not even body parts for Giannis and Lillard. They are illness tags. Tari Eason also questionable. We already got Dylan Brooks ruled out. So Amen Thompson probably drawing the start. And we saw how awesome he is last time he drew the start in the matchup versus New Orleans. Is spectacular as well. Could get even better, I suppose, if Tari Eason is out. Not that he necessarily needs that. Trey Murphy. I just saw a note on, let's see, I think he is likely to play now, according to Trey Murphy. He was questionable. I believe he's going to be upgraded to probable now for New Orleans. And I mentioned Sabonis earlier. The Jazz, they don't want to win. So Keontae George, John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, they're all out. And Colin Sexton might run the show. We'll see. Robert Williams on the other side is questionable for Portland. Again, that's FanDuel only. Did mention before the show, I mentioned this to you. It is Fleet Thursday, and everybody thinks I'm saying it with an F. Maybe it's just to say athlete.
I think you're saying it with an F. Like it sounds to me like you're saying it with an F.
Yeah, I guess I don't pronounce that word correctly. Fleet, and that's the whole point because it's TNT, right? Fleet Thursday, but I'm not saying it's Athlete Thursday. Yeah, it's Athlete Thursday. We'll go ahead and drop the first clue for the people. You guys know how this works. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. If you tell me the fleet that we're talking about in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel, the first clue, you're not going to hit a hole in one, unfortunately, but it's good to put in back pocket. It'll work, is retired. So, yeah, you're not going to get it. But just there you go. That's a bit of information to help you whittle down some players. It's not Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler not playing tonight, but he's also not retired, to the best of my knowledge, unless he retired in the last minute or so. So you can cross him off your list. Just got that news that Butler, he was doubtful, so not surprising at all. I believe we had him projected out. They're saying conditioning, which is kind of funny. But, that also is a 7 o'clock game. I believe it's on DK, it's a sprint slate, right? We have 3 7 o'clock. We have 1 7:30 and then 3 8 o'clock. And then on FanDuel, they insist on including the back half of the doubleheader, if you will, 7 and 2. There are 2 games on FanDuel that start at 7 o'clock West Coast time, 10 o'clock East Coast time, Utah, Portland, and the Detroit and Sacramento. All right. Anything you want to say as far as the slate before we fully dive in? I didn't mention Trae Young was questionable, did I? That's of note because probably the best game environment with 2 of the fastest teams on the board, 242.5 total. And, Atlanta is favored by 6, high and tight. Bulls also have some questionable pieces. Josh Giddey, namely. I believe the Sumo is questionable too. Am I making that up? I think he's questionable as well. Ball already ruled out. Lonzo is not playing basketball for Chicago. But, yeah, lots of things to keep our eyes on. News will drop throughout the show. If it doesn't drop for us, it'll drop for Crunch Time. Crunch Time coming in about an hour and 10 minutes, so get comfortable. We got Kyler Murray. We got Kirkwood coming in. And, of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth holding it down, running the show. Bobby, anything that we want to say as far as big picture-wise for this slate?
I am currently getting a lot of Grizzlies. Would that have to do with the Marcus Smart being questionable? So when I ran our Sims, basically getting Jaren Jackson, Aldama, and Eddie in the top 3 optimals.
I think Smart is out.
He's out?
Yeah, he's officially out.
My tweet deck isn't up, so I haven't logged in yet on this new computer.
No worries. Oh, yeah, how's the new computer working out for you?
It's good, but you have to re-log in everything, and I just forget all my passwords. So
I let my computer save most of mine. So, yeah, I think we have the same.
Oh, I did too, and then I got hacked, so.
Yeah. Huff is out also for Memphis. Smart is out for Memphis. Vince Williams additionally. Okay. So, yeah, well, let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's go game by game. You're guessing in the YouTube. By the way, if you guess in the YouTube, it doesn't count. But it's not Karl Malone. He definitely is retired, though. But it's not Karl Malone. T2 getting a lot of love, and Bad Boys, too, getting a lot of love in chat for sequels. Inside Out 2, I've not seen that. That's for children, isn't it? I guess, or Inside Out. Has your child watched the Inside Out movies?
He watched the first one. He could use watching. He needs to watch that a couple more times. He watches too much Home Alone. He told me shut up earlier. So
is that something Kevin McAllister says? It's been a while. Is the kid?
It's just like all the cousins that one of the shut up, Kevin. You're such a disease. And then he says the one where I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
Who said so that's not something that Kevin says, right?
Kevin.
Yeah. And Joe Pesci's not a great example either in that movie.
Yeah.
The Wet Bandits. We got to leave their mark, of course.
We've seen it about 45 times this Christmas season.
I have not seen Home Alone in probably 25 years. At least 20. Yeah.
What do you do during Christmas?
I mean, it's the same movie if you watch it in March. I'll tell you, I watched Juror Number 2, which was spectacular recently, and I watched. I started watching the new Joker, and I can't remember if I paused because I couldn't take it anymore, or because I got distracted by somebody calling. I don't remember what happened, but I watched the first half hour of that. And I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna see it through, but I'm not optimistic. It's not feeling. It's not looking great. That's not on the.
I didn't like the first one, and everyone was like going crazy about how good it was, and I didn't think it was good at all.
I thought the first one was very good. I really liked it, but if you didn't like the first one, you're probably going to really hate the second one. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the slate game by game. The Heat, my Heat, are in Orlando. 208, Bobby. 208 is the total. That is not high, especially in the year 2024. Orlando is a slight favorite, a 1-point favorite. This is a rematch of that game. A few days? No, not a few. 10 days ago, whatever it was, where the Heat were up like 30 and the Magic came back and beat them. What an embarrassment for Miami. Like Cole Anthony ran just absolutely smashed in the fourth quarter. I think the Heat put up like 5 or 6, maybe 7 points in the fourth. So, and again, of course, if you haven't heard, if you're just joining the show, there is no Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is out. So he's not playing basketball. Drew Smith, if you missed it, Drew Smith, just a huge bummer for him. Left Achilles tear. He's donezo for the year. And he was coming back from injury too. So that really, really sucks for him. And he was just starting to come on for Miami. So Drew Smith also out of the rotation, out for the season. Pelly Larson is available. Jokic is available as well. Terry Rozier is questionable with his knee, last I saw. All right. As far as Orlando, nothing really new. Gary Harris is still out. All the Wagners are out. Bankero is still out. But, nothing really new. Their situation essentially has not changed. We saw Traveling Queen jump in the starting lineup last time. We're presuming that's what's going to be happening going forward as well. Heat, Magic, not a very appealing environment, but maybe some cheapies that are getting a bump because of injuries. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jaime Jaquez, I think he's going to be someone that a lot of people are going to really look to at 4.1K on DK. He's currently the highest owned player when I ran Sims, getting him at 38%. I think that's very interesting. I don't mind getting to a lot of Jaime Jaquez. I think you can make a case for Bam, although I don't really want to pay 8,100 for Bam, but I think if you're playing 150, him and Harrow are both in consideration. That would really be it on the Heat side. On the Magic side, Traveling Queen. You said Traveling Queen? Traveling Queen is standing out pretty.
I did not intend to say that. I meant to say Trevelin. If I said Traveling, that's incorrect. But again, I can't. Pronunciation is hard for me apparently. And too bad I do this for a living. But yeah, I can't say fleet, but Trevelin Queen, we're presuming is going to draw the start there for Orlando.
At 3,600, he's going to pop a little bit. I don't mind him at that price tag, so I'm fine with it. Another Magic that I'd consider is Goga Batasi. I think he's in a really good spot. Outside of that, like the Magic aren't really hit. Jalen Suggs is hitting our first optimal, and so is Caldwell Pope. But I don't know. I feel like I'll be under on Suggs and likely under on Caldwell Pope on this slate.
I did this earlier today, and I don't want to misquote the number for Orlando, but like the number when as far as the usage for Suggs, when you take the Wagners off the court and you take Banchero off the court, they go ahead and do that now. I'm buying some time as I'm making it work on Court IQ. Both
they
Wagners,
are playing the Heat, though, right? Like,
yeah, it's against the Heat. Yeah, sure, but I don't know if this Heat team is like as amazing at defense as their reputation may be. 8% usage bump for Suggs, up to 34.44% in 141 minutes. That's a really appealing number. Again, the matchup's not great, and also his price is getting up there. He's 7.6 now on FanDuel. He's 7.8 on DK. Better price on FanDuel. You know the old if you're cheaper on FanDuel than you are on DK, you're probably a discount on FanDuel. So probably a better play over there. But the fantasy points per minute, 1.32. Cole Anthony is like an interesting flyer. 1.46 fantasy points per minute, 34% usage. He's not going to start, but he's like one guy on Orlando that can actually, generate some offense, right? The minutes are fickle, right? We're giving him 13 minutes. So I don't know if I'd throw that dart, and, the price has since adjusted a little bit. But I think there's a chance he plays in the 20s. The slate's big enough where I don't know. He's not making my first 10 or 20 lineups, but if you're running 150, it's not the worst dart to throw.
You're definitely playing Suggs, I can imagine.
He's in the bucket. He's in the bucket of players. Obviously stuff's going to change, and I think Trae Young is my favorite. Obviously he's more money. But like if I land on Suggs, so be it. I'm fine with it. I'm not afraid of Miami because he's going to be running the show. He kind of sort of has to run the show. Jaquez, assuming he starts, he's kind of regressed, but they also sort of need him. And we're giving him 28 minutes as he projects pretty well. So I'm willing to play Jaquez. I don't really want to get too attached to this game, though, the 7-gamer. And it's like clearly the lowest total on the board. Again, there are some pieces that are interesting because of injury. If everybody's healthy, then scratch the whole thing out. Like you can play Hero if you want to play Hero. You can play Bam, like you said. Center is tough today, so it's hard for me to get to Bam. You mentioned Goga. The price is kind of adjusted to his, a role of even more minutes these days. But I'm not going to talk you out of it. 6-7 on FanDuel now. Goga, we used to get him in the 5s, obviously. I'm probably not getting there. 6-5 on DK. Probably not getting there. It's fine-ish. But I have nothing else as far as Miami or Orlando. You got anything else?
I just think Suggs in tournaments is someone I want to be under on. I know the usage is high, but for me, I just think that it's like based on how he's great. He's like the obvious cash games when you look at Sims. We have him at like minus 18. And then point guard's like pretty strong.
I get it.
So he would be the guy. Like even in single entry, I'd probably try to get away from. I like guys like LaMelo. Scotty Barnes is grading out fantastic for us. Tyler Herro in this game. I just think there are other options, really.
Yeah, we'll get to the Barnes thing. That is like, I feel like you have to run back a couple Memphis pieces if you have Barnes, at least one. I'm not really sure what to do with that game. I'm probably not going to play Barnes. I only make so many laps, so I'm probably not going to do it. In chat, I saw somebody talking about how Anthony had dropped a 60-pointer. He did. That was the game against Miami where, again, there was a blowout. They were down by 30 in the fourth quarter. Maybe it was 28. I'm rounding up. Close enough. And they came back and won the game, and it was because Cole Anthony ran the show. He was amazing. Can you assume that's going to repeat? Probably not. But, again, if you look at their team, it's like, well, who's like the ball handlers? So who can, like, make things happen? Not really KCP, not really Queen, not really De Silva, not really Black, right? Like, he's somebody that can run the second unit if nothing else. So, we're not giving him a ton of minutes, and it's not projecting well, but you can tell yourself that story. I don't think it's outrageous. Okay. Game 2? Yes?
Yep, game 2.
All right. Well, we'll give the people something to work with here for Athlete Thursday, and drop a second clue. They can actually, retired can only get you so far. I know there are some guesses out there. Do appreciate your guesses, but we'll go ahead and drop clue number 2 for the people. It'll be scrolling here momentarily, and retired and ring. So retired and ring. Now we're starting. Now we're getting there. Now we're starting to piece it together. We can figure out and eliminate some players possibly. Okay, second game is Charlotte and Washington. We don't have news on Washington yet, do we? Miles Turner officially in. That's good to know. We got the Magic starting lineup. They're always nice. They give it to us nice and early. Suggs, KCP, Queen, De Silva, Bataze as expected. Should we skip? Let's skip that game because there's another 7:00 game. Let's just go to OKC in Indiana because we just got Turner in. So maybe we bounce back. We'll get some clarity. It's unlikely, but it's possible. 227 is the total. OKC in Indiana. They are a 6-point favorite against the Pacers. We just heard that Miles Turner is in. Quentin Jackson's questionable. Naismith is still out. Freeman is questionable. Doesn't really matter. OKC, nothing's really changed with the exception of now Alex Caruso is out. Alex Caruso's got a hip, so he's unavailable. But he only plays like 20 minutes anyway, and they're pretty deep, so it's not really a big deal. Thunder, Pacers. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I think Jalen Williams at 8K. Talk about Suggs. Suggs' price. I know they're different positions, but just from a pricing pivot, Suggs is at, 7, 8? I don't know. A guy like Jalen Williams, he's still going to be 20% owned, though, regardless. But I like Jalen Williams a good bit on OKC. Hartenstein looks good at 7,300. Dort at 4,400 is like a value play is fine. If you wanted to play Shea, you could. I don't think I'm going to get too much Shea. On the Indiana side, nothing really that I have any interest in. Maybe that's the wrong take, but looking at our sims, OKC and Indiana in terms of team exposure are way, way, way at the bottom. So not having a ton of exposure to this team is probably not the worst. To this game is probably not the worst idea. I will say I do like Jalen Williams.
This is one of my least interesting games on the board. So I thought you might go the other way and for tournaments, that kind of thing. You can make the argument, yada, yada. And as far as how things are projecting out ownership-wise, on DK, the only player that's getting double-digit ownership is SGA. SGA is an interesting conversation because you kind of pin him against, Trey Young. You're going to pin him against Ja to some extent. And there's one other player, I think, LaMelo. And we're giving him 12% or so. He's kind of got to lead the charge of those four. And I like SGA plenty, but I'm probably not going to get there. Hartenstein's fine, but again, center is a tough position. I'm probably not going to get there. I like the Jalen Williams call. It's just that I don't know if I'm getting there. Indiana. Do I want to pick on OKC's defense? Not really. And everybody's in. If Turner was out, it'd be an interesting conversation. We'd be talking about Obi Toppin to some extent. Maybe if you want to get goofy, we'd be talking about Thomas Bryant, but that's not the case. You can always play Halliburton. I don't think anybody's really playing him today. We're going to be currently have him at 1%. It's just not something I really want to do. And me, I'm mostly focusing on single entry, smaller field stuff. So I'm not looking to get crazy ambitious. He would be an interesting separator in those kind of contests, but that's just not where I want to be.
Like you said, I don't think you want to attack OKC defense. So even in tournaments, Halliburton and Siakam aren't guys that I'd be looking at.
You have the Sims. You're running the Sim stuff in front of you. What is it at for SGA? You might have quoted it. I might have missed it. I apologize.
Just from a team perspective, Oklahoma's the fourth worst on the slate in terms of exposure currently. Yeah, I didn't get him. I didn't really get much of him at all. So yeah, I don't even think I got him. So yeah, I really don't have any interest in SGA. Like I said, Jalen Williams would be the one that I think stands out the most. Actually, SGA, we're getting him at 5%.
Yeah, And I wouldn't feel like if you played him, would you feel like you had to run it back? I don't think you have to. I think it's fine. It's by himself. You can, but
I don't think you really have. It's a 5-point spread, right? So I don't think you have to.
yeah, that's pretty much where I am at. Not one of the more popular games for me. It's just I'm not as interested as I feel like I should be more interested, but I'm just not. And OKC, it's basically always SGA, maybe Hartenstein, maybe Williams. That's essentially it. If the cap is like crazy tight, you're talking about some of these fringy like 4K guys, or 4-ish, 5-ish K like Dort or Wallace. We just don't mess with that today, as far as I can tell. But if you want to move on, I am good moving on from this game.
Yeah, are we moving to the Washington Hornets game or?
Yeah, I guess so. Even though we don't know. I mean, we don't have the full clarity. I'm giving a refresh we'll get a new injury report in about 3 minutes. I mean, not sure they're going to get anything new, but it'll at least be updated, and it'll say 5:30 on the East Coast. The reason why I was hesitant just because, you know what? I missed this. I didn't realize that Sarr and Koulibaly were upgraded. I didn't see that. That must have happened when I stepped away from my laptop. So that's good to know. Okay, that's what I was waiting on. I thought they're questionable last I saw, so they are officially in. That's good. Carolina at Washington, 228 is the total. Washington, a 5-point dog here. We still don't have clarity on Brandon Miller, that's a big deal, of course. Nick Smith, and Grant Williams, Trey Mann, those guys have been out for a while. They're still going to be out. Washington did rule out Koulibaly and Sarr last game. They're back in. Carlton Carrington is also good to go. The only injuries they have is Bagley. That's going to be for a while. And Kuzma, of course, we have not seen Kuzma in forever. LaMelo looks like an awesome play here. This is another kind of sort of trash game, but like a game for DFSers. It's tricky with Brogdon. He looks pretty good. His minutes are hard to predict somewhat. They're not going to push him too hard, right? But he's been pretty good this year. When he gets some run, the matchup against Charlotte, perfectly fine. I'm curious. I guess Ball is probably the starting point in this game, LaMelo, at least for me.
Yeah, from a defense versus archetype perspective, getting Jordan Poole on the other side bodes really well for LaMelo. So I think he's probably my favorite play from this game. Our Sims do not love him. They don't love Charlotte in general. Charlotte is the third worst in terms of team exposure. Washington's right up there, though. Guys like Alexander Sarr, Jordan Poole, Malcolm Brogdon. I think if I had to rank them, that would be that's how I would rank them, is Sarr, Poole, Brogdon. But they
Koulibaly next.
What'd you say?
Then Koulibaly.
Yeah, then Koulibaly. For me, Brogdon seems like the chalkiest of the Pools and the Sarrs, I would imagine. Well, actually, Sarr is I think Sarr is likely good chalk. Brogdon's the one that I think is likely bad chalk, so definitely want more exposure to Sarr than Brogdon. Sarr has more ownership, but I'm totally fine getting over it. Jordan Poole's more like a tournament play at 7,700. Maybe he's your point guard substitute from Jalen Suggs if you wanted to take that route at 78. Suggs is 7,800. And yeah, Brogdon's at 5,300. He's been playing well. I don't know. I think point guard's strong. If I was building 150, he'd be in my pool, but I just don't think I just think he'd be the one that I'd want to get away from the most.
LaMelo played Charlotte Bay Washington earlier this year, and what a weird game looking at the box score. So LaMelo scored 69 points on DK. 69. He shot 3 of 18 from 3. So he left points on the table. 3 of 18 from 3. He was 11 of 32. He had 13 assists. He had 4 rebounds. He had 4 steals. He put 34 points in the bucket, but again, he took 32 shots. I don't know if other players were out in that game or not. Just interesting. It's hard to be 3 of 18, 13 of 32, and having an awesome game for DFS, right? But that's just how that played out. Also, there's a chance Miller doesn't play. I think we have an if-then set up if he doesn't go. If we don't, we'll figure it out on the fly if necessary, or crunch time, we'll talk about it. Yeah, LaMelo would get even a nice little bump up to 55 is a DK projection, 52 and change on FanDuel. Bridges would get a little bit of a bump as well. Nobody else really in the positive. I mentioned this one the other day, and I'm telling you, I don't know when it's coming. I don't know if it's coming. I have no idea. But Mark Williams has been awesome this year per minute. Really, really good. Just smashing. But they won't let him play more than 19 minutes yet. It started 9, 11, 11, 17, 17, 19, 19. But he's been 1.5 fantasy points per minute, maybe 1.4, give or take. I just don't know when or if it's ever going to happen. If he gets 26 minutes, probably not. But again, just kind of, I'm keeping an eye on it, and I'm trying to guess. I don't think it happens tonight, but just a player to put in your back pocket there. By the way, we did get a winner for Fleet Thursday. I'm so tilting because I was talking to producer Steve about it pre-show, and I'm like, well, maybe I should flip this one for this one because I think they're going to guess it because of this. And the flip, well, it turns we'll still play it out, and I know a lot of people are on YouTube. They're not hanging out on Discord, so we'll get some reps in. We'll drop clue number 3, and we'll still not reveal it just yet. I know if you're hanging out on Discord, Mr. Richard, by the way, a great supporter of the show, was the winner. So shout out to Mr. Richard for banking it in 2. But we'll go ahead and just for funsies, we'll play it out. Retired, ring, and boxing. Boxing, ring, retired. Those are your 3 clues.
Is it that guy from the Miami Heat, or it has to be a boxer?
Doesn't have to. I mean, the clue is boxing, but we've never done in the history of Fleet Thursday. We've never done a boxer, just for the record.
Boxers retire all the time too,
and then they come back. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. All right. Are we done with Charlotte and Washington? I think we are.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Okay. Eric in the chat is saying, I think it's probably Creed. Well, it's not. It's not Friday, so it's not Film Friday. Well, it's not a fictitious athlete. If you're guessing that, it's a real athlete. It's a real person.
I think Eric knows he's just trolling you, Dean.
I don't think he knows. He said, I saw him say he's somehow, I don't know what he did. This isn't my call, but apparently he's banned from Discord. I don't know. That's what he said in the YouTube chat. And I don't know how one gets banned from Discord. I don't know how that works. That's not my department.
I think we should bring him back. It's
not my call. I don't know what that is to talk to somebody else. Andy is guessing Raging Bull. Again, it's not a movie. It's not Film Friday or Movie Monday. And this is a real person. And those are our clues that are scrolling. Okay. 7:30. There's only one 7:30 game. It's another one. Yeah, wait for it. With potential injury stuff up in the air. Are we getting any clarity? Pelle Larson, by the way, for Miami is downgraded to questionable. Of note, I guess. Sure. Okay. So there you go. Yeah, Pelle Larson is questionable. The next game, the only 7:30 game, is the Bulls. The battle, the red teams, right? The Bulls and the Hawks. 2 of the top 3 teams when it comes to pace. We know the Bulls, or I'm always picking on the Bulls with centers that don't really move because they give up the most paint points. It's a spectacular matchup from multiple angles here. Again, 242.5 is the total. As far as who's in and who's out, well, I mean, we'll just have to assume everybody's in. If not, crunch time, we'll have the conversation. Maybe we'll kind of circle back. But, Okongwu we know is out. Trae Young dealing with that heel. He's questionable. Bogdanovich is questionable as well with his leg. My guess is they're both back, and they're just kind of managing those injuries. But I don't know. We do have a new injury report, right? So 5:30. I don't think anything's significant has changed, but let's just go ahead and confirm. Buzelis is questionable for Chicago. Yet Dosunmu is questionable. Giddey is questionable. So Chicago can get really, really interesting really fast if we happen to lose Giddey, Dosunmu, some combination of those guys. Ball's already out. Buzelis, not a big deal, but again, if he was out, he's questionable. Patrick Williams has been on his minutes restriction, so maybe something like a THT can become interesting. Yeah, and of course you want to spend up on Levine, you want to spend up on Vooch by all means. But to me, I think the dollar for dollar, and this is a good conversation for you, Bobby. Clint Capella, who hasn't been spectacular, but Capella this year has two games this year, the entire season, where he scored 20 points or more. Do you know who he played against in those two games?
Let me guess, team, the Chicago Bulls.
Both times it was against the Chicago Bulls because Clint Capella scores like 87% of his points in the paint, and the Bulls give up the most paint points in the league by like 2 points more than the second to worst team in the paint.
Guess who's the new center showing up in our optimals, team?
The new center showing up in our optimals?
Yeah, if you rerun them.
It's not Capella?
No, it is Capella.
I think wasn't it Capella all day?
It may have been, yeah.
You're just playing off the whole Capella angle, yeah. That's the thing is, like, he's kind of like not been good. And despite the fact that Okongwu's not there, he's not guaranteed any extra minutes. He can get some more, but Nance has been playing pretty good in the backup five. They've been playing some Johnson at the five, right? So not necessarily forcing a chop of 48 amongst Nance and Capella. So I think it's an interesting conversation for cash games. I don't want to say a lot because there's some good centers, but on DK, it's a really, really good cash game play. But he's going to be super owned. And also there's a chance he plays 30 minutes. If he plays 22, he can get there in 22. I think there's a chance he plays 27, 28, 30. So I'm curious your thoughts, because let me give a refresh as well. Yeah, we're seeing 37% Capella on DK. FanDuel, you can only roster one. Still, he's coming in at am I in the wrong game? I'm in the wrong game. 30% on FanDuel, where he's 5-1. And we're only giving him 24 minutes. That's our projection. It's not like a monster projection. What do you do with Capella in tournaments?
So I'll probably be if I was playing 150, I'd be slightly above the field or at the field. Jalen Johnson is the one I'm going to take an overweight stance on with the Atlanta Hawks, because I think the narrative is that Capella is the guy at center that you want to roster tonight. Obviously, Johnson is power forward eligible, doesn't have center eligibility, but I think if he does have a ceiling game, it negatively hinders Capella, and we're already giving Capella only 24 minutes. So Jalen Johnson's my favorite Atlanta Hawk. It goes against our Sims too, because our first optimal is Trae Young Capella, second optimal Trae Young Capella. To me, I think Jalen Johnson is like the tournament play that you should have the most interest in. I know he's 9K, that's fine. I really like Jalen Johnson in the spot. Capella, he's fine play at 5'2". Thinking of other chalk pieces that are in his at center, like you can play multiple centers on DK, so I'm perfectly fine with it. Trae Young is the guy I just can't stand to play ever. I would definitely be under the field on Trae Young if I was playing 150, and he wouldn't make my single entry team.
Question from Mr. Richard, our winner today. I'm playing DK single entry tournament. Would it be nuts to pivot from Capella or just play him? I think you can absolutely pivot away. And that's kind of the debate I'm having myself. And, you know, he's probably not a guy that's going to put up like 45. You know, he gets there through rebounds. You know, 10 points a game is what he scores. I think he's got a good shot at double-double because, like I said, you know, they bleed points on the inside, so he probably gets a double-double. The Bulls also give up like the second most opponent rebounds in all basketball. So, again, pretty good chance at that, but he's not going to get you any assists. He can get you some blocks for sure. But there are some other guys, you know, with Zach Edey in a similar price point. Sarr, we talked about Washington. Sarr's not nuts either. You know, we love centers against Charlotte. So I don't think it's something you have to do. And like, if you think that Capella's going to be 50% owned, and again, there's a chance he plays like 19, 20 minutes, and he's been kind of like falling out of favor. It's weird, but the matchups haven't been great for him either. I kind of go back and forth on it, Bobby, but I guess I'm asking you for a single entry tournament. And like, we know how ownership stuff gets baked up for single entry. Probably going to be like 50% on DK. I think you can get away with it. Get away from it if you want to.
Yeah. If I'm playing Jalen Johnson in my single entry team, which I think I will, I likely won't have Capella.
I feel like Capella and Trae Young have like somewhat of a positive correlation just with their pick and roll stuff. You don't have to pair it, but like I feel like he pairs a little bit better. Capella probably pairs a little bit better with Young. If to stick with your story, you want to play Johnson a la carte. He looks great too. Did you give the Bulls thoughts, or it's just a lot of it's just sort of like if then? And I know we have an if then for Chicago, but unfortunately you can't do one for everybody. So it's just we have a. By the way, if Trey and Bogdanovich do sit, Jalen Johnson, Smash City, I guess projection would be the 50s. Dyson Daniels would project really good. Hunter would project really good. Capella, they would all project really good if we get both those guys sitting. I don't think that's the likely scenario, but just be aware. And then we have Chicago. We have like if Giddey, Dosunmu, and Buzelis are all out. And then, THT would be the play. But you need all those guys, I think, for that to get that big projection. Levine and Book would look pretty good as well. I guess we still have Patrick Williams at a minutes cap, so we're only giving him 24. Julian Phillips would be kind of sort of somewhat interesting. But your thoughts as far as the Bulls, best you can do with the information we have right now.
Yeah, Levine and Kobe White would be my two favorite plays, and I think that's kind of showing in our sims currently. Patrick Williams would also be in play for me. Vooch is the one that I'm not getting a ton of.
Center, it's just tough to get the center.
Yeah, it's tough to get to center. So, yeah, it'd be more Levine and Kobe White. They're hitting both Levine and Kobe White and Patrick Williams are hitting our number one optimal. Patrick Williams, the only one hitting our second. But those would be the three main Bulls that I'd have interest in.
See, Cleveland Picker hanging out in chat. We're not on Utah, but he's talking about for FanDuel, Kessler is a sleeper tonight with all of Utah out. I don't know how much of a sleeper he's going to be. I think he's going to be pretty heavily owned. We got him at 24% on FanDuel. And this is the two worst defenses in basketball, Utah and Portland. And I'm not sure how much either team organization actually wants to win. It's an awesome stocks matchup, too. I did bet Kessler earlier today on his over blocks and steals. Yeah, I think he's going to be – that's one for you don't have that lever on DK. Utah's not available. Kessler's unavailable. But he's a guy that can drop like 50 on Portland.
I still don't understand the tankathon in the NBA because it's all pretty much lottery ticket, right? So
well, it's just percentage points, They tried to fix it to some. I shouldn't say fix it, but
they did try to fix it. You can get into that conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean, fix it as far as like the top three. So if you finish bottom three, you all get the same percent to get number one pick overall, 14%. So like it used to be like 1, 2, incrementally your percentages will change. But now it's just like getting the block. You want to be in 1, 2, or 3. You want to be on the podium.
I can guarantee you the NBA is not sending Cooper Flagg to Utah. Pretty much guarantee you.
I mean, Utah will be thrilled.
Utah would be very happy, but the NBA would not be.
I mean, look, Ernst and Young are on top of it, right? Don't they? There's people in the room. There's representatives for all sorts of teams. Supposedly, there's reps everywhere. It'd be a Big Ten if you're making a conspiracy.
The cold pamphlet. What was it you said before?
Well, Patrick Ewing was one of the famous ones where supposedly the envelope. They actually picked the envelope in front of everybody. David Stern picks the envelope in front of everybody. We probably can get a GIF of that. I don't know if it's available. Maybe producer Steve can show us. But like apparently, it was frozen, and like they wanted Ewing to go to New York because New York was kind of flailing, and Ewing was a Georgetown guy, right? Not too far, I guess. But they wanted to put him in a big market. The LeBron one, I mean, if you really want to get into it, like Cleveland had a brand new arena that nobody was going to. And the franchise was really struggling. And you got like a hometown boy, like the best player in the next 20 years. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just it certainly works out for that.
It's not all coincidence. Let's just say that.
Well, the thing with coincidence is people only point them out when it actually happens.
You're a big tinfoil hat guy, so
I'm not a big tinfoil hat guy.
Over on Blue Sky Social there. So.
I'm just, people only say like, hey, it's so weird. I saw so-and-so at the store. What a weird coincidence. Well, like you went to the store like 300 times and nothing happened. You had no story. And you didn't acknowledge nothing happened because nothing happened. So what was the point of bringing it up? So It's not a 1-and-1 situation. You're getting me off the rails. Who's my favorite bull tonight on DK?
Levine. You like Patrick Williams. You'd be a Patrick Williams guy.
The thing with Patrick Williams is it seems like they're just not going to let him play. I think he's still being, 24, maybe 25 minutes at most. He's played 23. That's the most he's played since coming back. So the price is pretty fair. The matchup's fine. The tricky part is I don't know if they're going to extend him. And would they announce they're going to extend him? I don't know. So his ceiling is sort of like kept in check, even if other guys are out. Fine with him, but the most you're going to get is like 25 minutes or so. Zella saying New Orleans moved CP3 via the league, and boom. Yeah, wasn't Chris Paul traded somewhere and like David Stern like blocked it?
The Lakers. Was
it the Lakers when he was good? Yeah. That was a whole. There's things that I'm not here.
The league right now is struggling, Dean. I don't know if you've seen attendance versus viewership versus the NFL yesterday, but
they had a record viewership number best numbers they've had in 5 years for the Lakers game versus Golden State. And the other thing is worldwide they're thriving, so it doesn't even matter. Like the viewership around the world is incredible. It's a world game, and obviously you want to have the numbers to not drop for in the U.S. North America, but they're doing fine. they're gonna be okay. The
NFL's a world game, Dean.
They're trying to make it the world's game. They're trying. It's not to the same extent. They've definitely done a good job, though. The NFL's done a good job, and they're getting more and more international games. And probably in like 10 years, there's a team in Mexico or London, probably.
I think in London for sure.
Yeah. I don't know who would want to play in London. Just nothing against London. And just the travel would probably be just really, really annoying. But, I think that's going to happen maybe 10 years. We'll see. Set an over-under on it. Okay. Back to Houston. Speaking of New Orleans, Houston's taking on the Pelicans. This is an 8 o'clock game. There's 3 games at 8 o'clock. The 8 o'clock window, the last 3 games on DK. Want to see if we get some clarity here news-wise. Don't think we're getting it. Never seem to. Pally Larson officially in. Terry Rozier officially in. Brandon Miller is officially a game-time decision, so that is not useful in any way. The Rockets taking on the Pels. 221 is the total. They're 7-point favorites here in New Orleans. New Orleans, one of the worst defensive teams in all of basketball. They are getting Alvarado's not back anytime. Well, I think he's practicing. He's not playing tonight. Murphy's still questionable, although there was a note where he said he was going to play. So take that for what it's worth. Zion obviously is still out. Houston, no Brooks. Tari Eason is also questionable too. But with Brooks not playing, we're presuming Amen Thompson's going to start. He still looks really, his price got baked up, but he still looks really, really good. I love Şengün tonight. I like all the Rockets, Bobby. I'm going to have – I wrote this in the survey today, and I reserve the right to change my mind. But I think I'm going to have a Rocket, at least one, in every lineup. I just think that they all look good.
Yeah, and our team exposures would agree with you. Rockets, number 1 team currently in our sims, getting a lot of Rockets. Şengün hit the top. Optimal. Van Fleet's in there a little bit. There's a bunch of Rockets. So I feel like you'll always be on the chalk, and once again you are. Amen, Thompson.
There's ways not – okay, so K-Max says all the Rockets. Well, I'm not playing Steven Adams if you want to get all technical with me. All the relevant Rockets, right? I love Amen Thompson, of course. On DK, he's 6K, and that's an amazing play. He's like 6'6" on FanDuel. But, on FanDuel, the scoring system over there with the stocks, he can really get going from a steal and blocks perspective. So 6'6", I think he's still fine over there. FVV at 6'9", I'm good with that. Green is probably my least favorite. I'm not going to besmirch, but – and then Şengün, my hot take today, and hot takes, it's probably not going to happen. I did bet it. I came like 15 or 20 to 1. I can't remember the number I got. I bet a triple-double tonight. Triple-double for Şengün. This New Orleans team is vulnerable to assists. They're vulnerable to rebounds. They're vulnerable to everything. They get top 3 as far as giving up points in the paint as well. Şengün can get you in a variety of ways. He peppers that box score. And then the one that's not going to be that owned is Jabari Smith, and he's coming in at 6%. I'm fine with him too. No issues with Smith. So I'm good with all of them. And Tari Eason, even if he plays, I think his minutes will be in check to some degree. And if you want to tell the story, Bobby, you want to tell a story or things getting goofy, Cam Whitmore's 4K on DK, but he's like 3.6 on FanDuel. He would be a guy that would thrive if this game kind of blows out. We have him getting 17 minutes as is. I think Cam Whitmore is like an ambitious, tournament play. It's not completely bonkers. Really talented youngster.
Seems pretty bonkers.
Is it bonkers?
No, I guess you could play him. Getting him at 6% in our Sims.
Okay. Is there a college football game going on right now? I see. It looks like that producer Steve's tilting something. Toledo is playing in overtime for somebody. Do you follow? I have no idea what's going on in college.
I'm tilting this constant scam calls I've been getting. Constant.
Yeah. Do you put your phone? Is your phone's on silent though? I don't think I'm hearing anything.
It's on vibrate, so people might actually hear it.
I haven't heard it for what it's worth.
I answered the other night, and I was like calling the guy out for being a scammer, and he threatened to swap my house.
What?
Yeah.
This is why I just don't get involved. I just don't want to get involved. I don't. Somebody texted me the other day, and I guess it was yesterday. Merry Christmas, yada yada. And I'm like, I responded. I'm like, oh, Merry Christmas to you, whoever this is. Just be polite. And I don't know if this is like a robo text or whatever. It's like he's like, yeah, this is your cousin. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he starts asking me questions. Like, oh, Jesus, not gonna have a conversation. But yeah, I'm like, oh,
you're an elite DFS player making all the dough.
No, I just
RotoGrinders.
I'm not on Facebook. I don't keep up with everybody. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so just somebody ran. I don't have anybody's number, I guess. All right.
My number has already been populated. Someone just said.
Anything else of note here as far? Oh, New Orleans. I'm not, Messi, I guess, kind of sort of is fine. He's been pretty good. He's been really bad defensively, but pretty good, as far as a fantasy play, and the price is kind of still down. Murphy, I don't like his price. I don't like the matchup against Houston. I just don't like New Orleans, which is tricky because I want to ideally play to Houston. And I like to find somebody I want to play on New Orleans. If Murphy doesn't go, Hawkins could be interesting, but it seems like Murphy's going to go, so yeah.
Murphy seems like he would be the guy.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think CJ McCollum is in play. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. Like I said, I like Murphy. I'm getting Messi in our Sims at the center position. What are your thoughts on Messi?
Yeah, I think he's fine. He's got a decent shot at a double-double. He's going to get worked by Şengün. I don't think he's very good defensively. I was looking at defensive ratings, and I guess just amongst qualified centers, the list is only so long, and he was the worst. He was the worst center defensive rating-wise. That's another reason why I liked Şengün. Şengün, by the way, I think was the best or second best, right there with Hartenstein. I can't remember who else was in that list, but fantasy-wise, that's all we care about. Messi, pretty decent fantasy point-minute player. So I think he's fine. Oh, geez. Now I'm getting the robocall.
That is not me. That is not me.
I'm getting called from Lattimore, North Carolina or something. Okay, my bad. Could you hear that? I apologize for that. I should have turned my
I've never even seen you have that mistake in the 10 years of...
Because my phone's always off. Yeah, I always turn my phone off. Or, so that's... Or usually, you know what it is? I have my earpiece in, and I don't have my earpiece in right now. So I would have just heard that in my ear, and you wouldn't have heard it.
How annoying is it to hear it in your ear when you have you're on the show and you have
it jolts me. It's like, oh, what is that? Yeah, I don't like it.
Edwin Fleet at 6,900, I think, is a good play on the Rockets too. I think we kind of crossed over him, but
yeah, all the Rockets. All the
Rockets. He's perfect.
Freddie, Amen, Smith, Şengün, all five. I don't think I'm getting the East end. Again, if you want to tell a story, I think Whitmore is the interesting dart. Okay. I'm
more on Eason. I'd be more interested in Eason.
So my only issue with Eason is I don't know how much they push him if he plays, just because he's dealing with the injury. Maybe they let him play 22, 23, maybe. I don't think he would play blowout minutes, so he would probably have his minutes cut if the game blows out to some degree.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you can't play him. No news just yet, right? I'm checking to see if we got an update, but yeah, still questionable. We are still playing out our athlete Thursday. We do have a winner, but we'll go ahead and drop the next clue.
Udonis Haslem.
What?
Udonis Haslem.
Oh, that's your guess?
Yeah.
No, it's not. I love Udonis Haslem as a Heat fan. Like, we love him in Miami.
Wasn't he like in fighting or something? I don't know.
No, I think you're probably thinking of James Johnson, possibly.
James Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, he was more of like a taekwondo guy or like a black belt guy. And I think James Johnson's still in the league, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's on some team, still working as like the 15th man or like a good locker room guy. Or if things ever went down, you want James Johnson on your side. Okay, 2 more games to go and still some lack of clarity as far as injuries. Brooklyn and Milwaukee, 206.5 is the total. We did drop the 4th clue. Tag, by the way. Tag is the 4th clue. If you want to guess for fun on the YouTube, we already have a winner, but people like to play it out. 206.5. The Bucks are favored by 10 against the Nets. The Nets are on the front half of a back-to-back. They do have Ben Simmons currently questionable. The DFS is expected to play. Let me just go ahead and confirm this. DFS officially questionable. I think he said he was in. But he's officially questionable. We're expecting him to play. Simmons also questionable. Cam Thomas is out. Watford out. Zaire Williams still out. Milwaukee is the big one. They don't necessarily need these guys, I guess, but they also need some wins, I suppose. But Giannis and Lillard are both questionable. Middleton good to go with his ankle. He's officially probable. You know what to do if Giannis is out. You play Portis, even though Portis has been baked up. Still, he would project really, really strongly. But, we can't really do the whole if-then dance here. I'm pulling up and see what we have here. I'm assuming we have an if-then for Giannis. Yeah, Portis would have a 44-point projection, median projection, if we lose both Lillard and Giannis, if both are out. I don't know what to do with this game right now. Mostly I'm just kind of throwing it in the trash. But
yeah, there's nothing you can do, really. But, I think you kind of hit on it, though. Like, if Giannis is out, Portis and all the starters would get a bump. We still have Rollins starting correctly. Correct. So.
Brandon Miller in, by the way, for Charlotte. I think that's what that noise was.
Yeah, I think that kind of knocks LaMelo a little bit for me. Not that I don't think LaMelo is a fantastic play, but just hoping Miller was out. Yeah. Do we think Lillard's going to play? We think Lillard's out, correct?
I think we're projecting them both in. Let me confirm now that you say that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're projecting both in.
Both in, so I have no interest in Milwaukee.
Yeah, surely Giannis can just wreck Brooklyn, and it wouldn't surprise us. And he's not really going to be heavily owned, yada, yada. He's got to kind of put up like 70 to be of note because of his price, but he certainly can. I'm looking at the ownership stuff now for this game for Milwaukee and Brooklyn on FanDuel. The only player getting any ownership is Simmons, who might not even play. We'll see. Stay tuned. 12%. Everybody else in the single digits, Johnson at 5%, Claxton 5%, Giannis at 3% on FanDuel. It's just hard to get there. And on DK, it's the same story. Nobody getting currently in double digits. It's Ben Simmons at 8%, Claxton at 5%. Stay tuned, I suppose. But right now, this game looks pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I have zero interest in Brooklyn. I don't think there's anyone I want to roster. Make a case for Claxton at the center position. That's really it. Yeah, in terms of Milwaukee, just zero interest around if everyone's in.
Don Yeezy's asking in chat, are we projecting Giannis in? Yes, we're projecting him in. But, we'll see. Stay tuned. Yeah, we did get the official confirmation that Brandon Miller is in. We have just one more game left on this DK slate. It is Toronto. It is the Raptors taking on the Grizz. 240.5 is the total Memphis, monster favorites here, about 11, 12 points. Checking the injury report for this one. We have Memphis, who's out for the Grizz. Marcus Smart, we talked about it earlier. He's out. Vince Williams still out. G.G. Jackson still out. Jay Huff is out. As far as the Raptors, Pirtle still has that groin, so he's not playing for a while. Quickly's been out for a bit with that elbow. Midday downgrade for Jamal Sheed for that was Walter. Walter, the midday downgrade for his illness, and Sheed is also questionable. So maybe some of their fringy stuff could become interesting. Oh, so the Bulls. That's the game. It's a game stack. Giddey, Dosunmu, Buzelis are all out for Chicago. So, it's going to be Atlanta and Chicago, and there's going to be 5 or 6 players in your lineup with Atlanta and Chicago. Right? Maybe? Yes? We just got Giddey, Dosunmu, and Buzelis all ruled out. So
yeah, it's going to be all Chicago.
How do you feel about Taylor, Horton, Tucker, Chalk? Because that's happening.
I'm fine with it.
You
hate it. You hate it.
He's not good at basketball, but he's a pretty good fantasy point accumulator. So
yeah, why wouldn't you be? You're going to try to get away from it.
I will probably play him. He's 3.
Yeah, you're playing him on your single injury team, 100%.
I think I'm playing him. Yeah, and now Julian Phillips it's going to become interesting. Who's somebody that didn't really think I had to think about today. Let's circle back on that. Let's knock out this last game, and we'll circle back on the Bulls because when we talk about Atlanta, it's going to be, that's what everybody's going to do too. It's just going to be 2 and 2 on each side or something like that. Maybe 3 for one of them. Levine's just been so disappointing this year, but in theory, he's supposed to, be the guy that elevates. I want to check out the lineup, the court IQ stuff as well, as far as how much that changes things when it comes to usage on the season. No Giddey and Dosunmu is pretty important. Because was not as big a deal, but okay. Let's just put that in the back burner for a second. Let's knock out this last game, Bobby. Let's talk about the last of the 8:00 games. It is Toronto and Memphis. 240.5 is the total. Memphis projecting well. Toronto's a great matchup, obviously. Some pieces for Memphis are projecting pretty well. Ja, I don't know how many minutes, 31, to kind of keep him in check. The center, Edey, looks really good. I've been following this thing with the Raptors ever since they lost. Ever since they lost their center, Pirtle, they have the worst rebounding percentage in basketball, 43% as a team. It's only a 3-game sample. That's really bad. That's really horrendous. It's at 43%. So I think Edey's very much in play. This is one of those spots where he might get 14 rebounds. And Barnes projects well if this game stays close, but I don't know. Is it going to stay close? You tell me. How do you feel about the Grizz and the Raptors?
I like Scotty Barnes from an optimal versus projected ownership. He's the best play currently at the point guard and small forward position. So I'm interested in Barnes. I think you made a really good point at the top of the show. You're running Barnes back with some of these Memphis guys. Now, prior to the Chicago news, Memphis was hitting a ton. I wonder if that changes and from a team exposure perspective.
I assume it will. We'll see.
Yeah, it should. But guys like Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, they're all guys that are worth consideration. Desmond Bane, they're worth consideration as run back options. I think Edey's the best play. I think that's pretty easy to spot. So I like Edey a good bit. He'd be my favorite. Followed by, I would say Aldama, then Jaren Jackson, then Bane, then Morant. But I'm running it all back with Scotty Barnes, pretty much. Scotty Barnes is a guy I want to get to on the slate, so 9,100. I think he's fine, and just making sure we're running it back. That's how I would approach it. I want to rerun these sims to see where we got where the Chicago news hit. Have we updated yet?
Yeah, give it a refresh. It just came through our projections teams. They're on top of it.
All right, cool.
And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of bull stuff.
Yeah, a ton of bulls. 3 bulls in the first optimal from a team exposure. Bulls aren't the team that's hitting. Memphis Grizzlies are still hitting it a good bit.
Interesting.
Which is interesting, yeah. But definitely in our first optimal, Kobe White, Levine, and Patrick Williams.
I got 5 in my first one on DK, 5 bulls, which is ridiculous.
All right,
then 2.
Am I behind then?
I don't know. No. I just maybe we have different variant stuff we baked in there, that kind of thing.
I did large field high. Oh. You probably did small field. What did you do? Small field. What was your?
I didn't do the Sims. I'm doing lineup HQ stuff with that, just adding variants. So yeah, you're running Sim stuff. I'm running lineup HQ stuff.
Okay.
And like Sim stuff is like more like giving you plus EV lineups, and lineup HQ is giving you like the best lineups, right? So yeah, that's the best lineup has 5 bulls in it right now, and two Hawks. Like I said, and I'm not saying that you have to play, but no surprise, Capella, Trae Young, 5 bulls, and LaMelo Ball is our current lineup. That's the current optimal I have. I add some variants and things like that, so that might not be everybody else's. But and what's interesting is the next one is only 2 bulls and then 3 bulls. Yeah, and then 3. So 5 is kind of an extreme number. Of course, that's on DK. You can't even get 4. Beyond 4 on FanDuel. But they're asking about THT. Like, why is THT projecting so well? Well, because he's going to get more minutes. Why is he going to be chalky? That's our guy, Butto. We're projecting him for 28 minutes, and he's a fantasy point minute guy. And typically he plays, 15, 16, 17. And he's priced for a guy that's going to play 15, 16, 17. And that's that. He's going to play 28. He might play a little bit more. He might play a little bit less. Williams' minutes didn't move. Like we talk about Williams, we're not expecting him to get a minutes bump still. So he's still at 24. Phillips at 25. He's like, I don't like Phillips as much as THT, although he is really, really cheap. He's very cheap. He has not been great fantasy-wise, but he's 3-2, so sure. But suffice to say, Atlanta and Chicago game stacks are going to be popular. And Memphis still is just as good as they were before. My issue with Memphis, Bobby, is that, possible blowout, and they still are just so deep. Nobody's projected to play more than 30 minutes. Now they can get it done in 30 because the prices aren't outrageous. Bane 30 minutes, Ja 30, Triple J 29, Edie 25, Wells 26. But it's just they play 10 guys, and it's. I like them. I just don't know if you're getting ceiling games unless Toronto punches back, and I just don't trust Toronto to punch back.
Yeah. Like I'm still on Scotty Barnes. I think he's fine.
If you like Barnes, then you're gonna like running back with Memphis.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of Sims, like it's mostly first optimal currently is 3 Atlanta Hawks, 1 Chicago Bull. Larry Nance is hitting. Have we talked about Nance at all?
Yeah. I mean, I would also say if you want to put rules in, max 1 of Nance and Capella.
Capella for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but I think it's worth noting. And they're not even guaranteed to split the 48, but I would max those at 1. And he's fine. His price has kind of gone up a little bit, but he can certainly do some damage inside here in Chicago. He's capable of hitting a 3. He's kind of bouncy, athletic. And 20 minutes or so, something like that. And he could get a little bit more depending on anything else of note as far as Toronto and Memphis before we kind of give like the whole overall thoughts.
Not for me.
Okay, so you know what's happened here, Bobby, is that I think what happens is lineup HQ is updated, but the Sims have not yet updated. That's what's going on.
That's what I was wondering, like.
Yeah. So that will update soon enough. I guess they update lineup HQ a little bit faster, but the Sims update will be coming in soon, I'm sure. By the way, we're talking about the Sims. You can get yourself some Sims with combo lights. We're taking $10 off your first month for combo light. That means access to SimLabs, lineup building tool, and content from some of your favorite RotoGrinders DFS analysts. Just $19.99. an affordable sub that has everything you need to build effective lineups. Now, it's not going to give you access to Lineup HQ, but you're not going to get everything for $19.99 for that first month. But it gives you enough to make things work. If you just want to work with the Sims, it's right there for you. Check the link in the description. Should mention Splash as well. We have a nice promo code from Splash. It is Roto10. Roto10 for Splash. When you play $100, you play $100 in Quick Picks, you'll get another $50 on Splash. Should also mention shot quality. Shot quality projections you can get in right there on your Lineup HQ tool. 1 month access for shot quality at $40, or the entire season, the entire year is $200. And if you want to just give it a shot, give it a test ride, you've never used it before, check it out for 3 days. It's less than $10. It's $9.99. I did see that last clue is scrolling if you're still playing along for today's Fleet Thursday. I know we officially got a winner, but some did not actually see the winner in the Discord channel. We'll talk about that in a second. Well, there, Mr. Richard just gave the answer, who actually answered it earlier, and we'll explain it soon enough. Did you have any thoughts as far as the FanDuel slate, as far as Detroit and Sacramento? Sabonis is still questionable. Utah is really popping on FanDuel with the absence of a lot of their players. I guess I had to run it down if you missed it. For Utah, and this is almost like kind of tankathon games. 2 worst defensive teams in basketball. No Clarkson, no Collins, no George. So projection-wise, assuming nothing goofy out of Utah, like Markkanen looks awesome. Sexton looks really good as well. Those guys are projecting really strong. Ownership-wise, we're seeing 62% ownership for Colin Sexton, which it's a little dangerously high, but like in theory, if he plays his 30 minutes, should get there. Svi Mikhailuk's an interesting flyer, but Markkanen looks pretty good at 33% as well. And we talked about Walker Kessler already. Portland not projected nearly as well. Most popular player there is Jeremy Grant, but that's only 10%. If Sabonis is out for Sacramento, be on alert. I think that's an illness, so he wasn't at shoot-around, but there's certainly a trickle-down effect for him. You got anything there, Bobby? I don't know if you're playing the FanDuel slate or not. The Crunch Time guys will touch on it. If not,
it looks like at most one Utah Jazz on FanDuel with everyone out. Sims like Sexton above his ownership, so we have him at 70%. Shooting guard, point guard eligible. I would say Sexton's a good, relatively good chalk, even at that ownership, which is
just to make clear. You said at most one. You mean at minimum one? Is that what you're saying?
At least one.
Okay.
At least one. Sorry.
No worries.
At least 2, by the looks of it. Yeah. I say with the multi-position eligibility, like I'd be perfectly fine getting over Sexton's 60% ownership on FanDuel. I know that sounds gross, but
it does sound gross, but like it maths out good.
It's kind of warranted. Yeah.
The only concern I have is if Utah just does something goofy rotation wise, because they want to get Cooper Flag.
I'm saying this, but I was under Josh Jacobs the other night at 80%, and I thought it was a good play, and I got steamrolled, and he only played 1/2.
Yeah. Tomorrow, by the way, programming note, the Pick Six show. If you're looking for the Pick Six show, we do it Wednesday nights. Wednesday, of course, was Christmas. So myself, Rich Rebar, John Daigle, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock tomorrow, we're doing the Pick Six show for, I think it's 8 games on the Sunday slate. When all the games, we're whittling them out throughout the week. I'm pretty sure we're down to 8 on Sunday, and it looks pretty gross. It looks pretty. I'm not sure if you've looked at football just yet, if you dug into the upcoming weekend, but
I haven't. We only have 8 games on the slate.
Well, because 2 teams played on Christmas, and somebody's playing tonight. There's 2 games on Saturday. Yeah, there's a Monday night game. CeeDee Lamb was shut down. In case you missed that, it's gonna be a mess. But you know what? We're all dealing with the same pieces. Let's go ahead and explain Fleet Thursday for those who don't know. 1 was retired. The player is retired. 2 was Ring, and my hope was, Bobby, that people would think, this is somebody who won a championship. Ring, right? That's not. I'm trying to throw people off the scent. Boxing. No, I figured like people would pick boxers, right? Boxers. Boxing was a great clue because it works like multiple ways. Today is the 26th. The 26th, day after Christmas,
Boxing Day.
Is Boxing Day. This athlete wore number 26 and boxed. That wasn't the main thing he did, but he did box Adrian Peterson. I don't remember who won. I think everybody lost. I think America lost that game. He also called out Jake Paul. I don't think that ever happened. I know he called him out. 4 was Tag. He was famously franchise tagged in like 2018 or so. And then he just said, I'm not going to play. And he sat out the entire season. And then he came back, he stunk. And clue number 5 was Wiz. That's a shout out to Black and Yellow, the team he's most known for playing for. Yeah. B was another one I was going to go with because he was a part of the Killer Bees in Pittsburgh. But yeah, we're talking what?
Le'Veon Bell?
Yes, there you go. We're talking about Le'Veon Bell.
I think it was the 2019 DraftKings Live final. He was at like our table, and it was a wild night, to say the least.
He's an interesting character, right, Le'Veon Bell? I don't know.
Yeah. We went to live in Miami. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that must have been really interesting. Didn't Roth is in chat, and he'll be coming in a minute. This is not my realm. It's definitely more Ross lane. But I thought Wiz Khalifa did Black and Yellow.
Dean, when I come to Florida, we'll hit the Strip in Miami. How do you feel?
Dude, I'm not doing that. I'm too old.
We can go to 11. I feel like these are places you frequent.
No. I mean, Miami might as well be like 3,000 miles away from me. I haven't been to Miami in a couple of years, probably. Anyways, not that there's anything wrong with it. Just it's not. I don't leave the house, right? Who leaves the house these days? It's overrated. We got anything else as far as the slate? I know that we at least have Roth here. So okay, Roth was so I was correct. It was Khalifa Black and Yellow. That was his song, right? Yeah, okay. I thought maybe I goofed on that and that was a bad clue, but apparently that was correct. Do you have who's breaking the slate, Bobby? Who's breaking the slate tonight?
I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna go Jalen Johnson. I like Scotty Barnes too.
Scotty Barnes is the ambitious one. I don't know if it's ambitious is the right word to use, but I just got to sell myself on if that game is close, right? It's got to be because Barnes is doing well, or Memphis is not scoring and it's like a low scoring game, right? I guess that's how they get there. But 240 total, so maybe I should be on board more Toronto and Memphis. Who's your second favorite Raptor? Do you have one? Or is that kind of part of the deal because you think Barnes is going to do everything?
What about RJ Barrett?
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, Giannis is out. Great. So everything we said.
This play is going to be a mess currently. Yeah, great.
So
Bobby Portis is going to break the slate.
So it's going to be former Bull Bobby Portis, other Bulls, couple Hawks, maybe somebody in Houston. I feel like we're going to have big scores tonight. Did we get news on Dame or just Giannis? Well, this will be something that crunch time.
Game out, Kyle Murray.
Oh, boy. Okay. All right. Kirkwood and Kyle.
This whole hour conversation.
Yeah, everything we said, let's throw it out the window.
Let's throw it out the window.
It's good to know we're useful in some way. With that seamless transition, let's bring on crunch time. They're coming in right now. All right, so we lost Giannis, we lost Dame, so Bobby Portis is going to be in your lineup. So I assume he's more expensive these days, but still, Roth, you're probably going to like this slate because there's going to be a lot of value. This is a Roth kind of slate.
Would you say that almost everything that you said over the last hour is now completely irrelevant with Giannis and Dame out? Does that just throw everything out the window now?
There's a priority list, right? There's a priority line, and like a lot of the stuff. Like Miami and Orlando, that's for the birds.
Yeah.
There's just, some of the stuff is just junk now. But everything gets bumped and downgraded, and sort of to some degree.
Yeah,
but it was a fun conversation.
It was a fun. Yeah, we had a good time. It's nice seeing you, Dean.
That's what matters.
We had a great fleet Thursday, but by the way, would you believe it, Roth? Somebody guessed it in 2. They guessed it in 2, and. Yeah, that kind of ruins the game. But you can't get mad at anybody for nailing it.
Right. Do you limit people to one guess? Can people just spam guesses or no? Oh, you can't do that.
No, you cannot MMA. This is not DraftKings or FanDuel. There's only one guess per clue drop.
I mean, that's just sometimes you got to tip the cap. If they get that on those 2 clues, then hey, well done.
Is Kirkwood and Kyle, you guys rattle a little bit? Hopefully you're not like MMAing tonight with all the news dropping right as you come on the show. Of course it works out that way.
I just unregistered from everything.
There you go.
Honestly, I because my computer was being slow and from crunch, and I knew crunch time was going to make it even slower. And I'm like, okay, I got to get out. Sent a quick email.
All right, myself and Bobby, we're going to see ourselves out. Do appreciate everybody watching. I didn't call it out, but apparently our likes were down. So hit those likes. So we don't want Roth or anybody to beg or grovel. Just go ahead and do it at this point. Pavlov's dogs. And when you jump in the room, hit the like button. Subscribe. You can turn on those notifications. You know when we go live. Myself and Bobby, we're gone. Roth, Kyle, Kirkwood, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. It's 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. Going to take you up to lock. We might take you through lock if there's breaking news. We're going to walk through that as well. And there just was some breaking news. This is the best time, in my opinion, to win some money is when you get news breaking kind of right before the slate. We have time to digest it just a little bit and hope that people are not quite as sharp or as quick as we are. And I know no one sharper and quicker than this man right here, Kyle Murray. And that it's back. The way I point is not the way that it points. Kyle Murray in the house. What up, man?
Yeah, not much. I'm doing good. Obviously, that late breaking news. We have had good samples of these 2 being out recently, so it's definitely something that we're adjusting to on the back end. But we've seen it over the last couple of games, so it's definitely not a new situation there.
Okay, you feel confident. You know what to do. You know how to handle it.
Yep, yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of what we saw last game, we saw Chris Middleton have the best game of the season for him. So that was obviously good to see. Still probably not going to see a ton of minutes for him. Obviously they're going to be very cautious with him. He's been injured essentially his entire career, but definitely this year. So we have him at 24 minutes right now on the back end. DeLon Wright stepping into the starting lineup once again, mid-20s minutes as well. Obviously, Bobby Portis is going to be a favorite on the slate as well.
Okay, good stuff. My guy, Chris Kirkwood, when I said sharp and quick and smart, I first accidentally pointed at you, but now I'll do it for real. You also...
Oh, you don't have... That's all right. I don't deserve that anyway.
Not the pity point. What's up, man? How are you, Kirkwood?
Good. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, who celebrates a Happy Hanukkah. A pretty good Christmas. How was yours?
It was good. Kids loved it, and that's the whole point, at this stage in the game. That's the whole point. So, yeah, it was glorious.
How many times did you watch Home Alone? Did you watch it?
Did watch it just once. My wife had never san it, which was just so alarming to me. What do you do?
I don't even know you anymore.
Yeah. And then we were watching the Texans game, and Beyonce came up, when she was doing the Beyonce halftime performance, and there was some other lady there, and my wife goes, "Oh, I think that's Mary J. Blige with her," which makes sense because she was in Destiny's Child. It's like, what are you talking about? Just brutal lack of pop culture. But I think that's a good thing, honestly. Better that than too far into pop culture. Anyways, we watched it. How are you?
I have one quick funny story of my son. So
let's go.
Which just Beyonce came on, I was like, oh no. And my girl's was only watching the football game for Beyonce to come on, And then so my son was standing at the TV and he was all into it. And then as soon as Beyonce came on, he started screaming and he ran into the bedroom. And I was like, yeah, that's my boy. I'm like,
yeah, I would have imagined, the eyes might have lit up a little bit at Beyonce, but probably
maybe who knows? It's headed down the road.
All right, give it a few more years. Anyways, guys, we got to dive into it. We did just have some breaking news, of course. So let's get right into the goods. Kirkwood, you can either just start with FanDuel and walk us through it starting at point guard, or give me an overview of what else matters other than Dame and Giannis being out.
Well, the Bulls matter. The Ayo Sumo's out, Josh Giddey's out. There's other guys out too as well. So they're pretty thin roster. They also had ruled out Lonzo Ball earlier in the day. So that leaves a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring for Zach LaVine, a lot on his plate. Maybe say I hate this because I recommend Zach LaVine every crunch time. And he sucks. He's like the mid, just mid always.
But there are reasons this time. Like this time you feel he has to.
Yeah, but Taylor Horton-Tucker ends up being a good value piece. And then what happened is then now this Dame and Giannis news just that shakes everything up. So I think Porter is definitely going to be the play, but now we have also got to talk about Ryan Rollins. So and other plays too. I think just like I think Middleton's probably capped like 25 minutes, 26 minutes. But as he said, I mean he's going to have all the usage he can handle, and so he can produce in that time. Just doesn't have the mega ceiling. But
that hurts the upside.
Yeah, but Portis has that. So
okay. Also, we just got Bogdan Bogdanovic out. I'm not sure where that ranks on the scale, but certainly worth noting. We appreciate you, Tides, for popping that in the chat. Let's dive into it here. And Kirkwood, I guess I'll let you go first. Point guard, FanDuel. What do you got? What do you like? Who are we playing there?
Yeah, I'm waiting for some projections to update to see if Ryan Rollins matters much. But another guy there's a team that a lot of players out is Utah as well. Jordan Clarkson is out being the main one. So Colin Sexton is going to be the big beneficiary of. They're going to need scoring and usage, and he should play a boatload of minutes, get all the usage he can handle against Portland, which is a good matchup. So I think he's kind of the top of the list. He's only 5,900 on FanDuel. The big spend, LaMelo against Washington, great matchup. You're going to see, mega usage. Would have been absolute mega usage if Miller was out, but Brandon Miller is in now. So I guess you could make a case on fading him if you want, but he is a really good play. He's going to be chucking. If he makes threes, he's going to be on his way. And the matchup is great in Washington. And I think it's interesting when you can play Jordan Poole on the other side of that game if you want to take the guys who are just going to be shooting all game. Trae Young, we're waiting on news, but as of right now, a good spend up. Other spend up. We have no stories of spend ups like De'Aaron Fox, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, John Morant, Cody White, and Tyler Hero are also in play. But Kyle will give you the optimal play right now. Okay.
Well, then let's do it. Kyle, what are we doing in point guard on FanDuel?
Yeah, I like all the names that Kirk mentioned there. In terms of some other guys in the mid-range, Colin Sexton's a guy that projects really well for us right now. Obviously, good matchup there against Portland. They're also dealing with some injuries, so we have him projected for 32 minutes, which might not seem like a ton in the grand scheme of things, but for a guy like Colin Sexton, that is a pretty significant increase there. He's a guy who can definitely be limited in what they're allowing him to run in the rotation. So 32 minutes is a good number for him. Obviously, a high projected ownership number. And I think he's deserving of that in single entry and in cash type builds. If you're looking for a pivot, I do think Kobe White is a good pivot there. I think that game is probably the best game environment in terms of pace and defensive efficiency ratings on both sides. Both teams don't play very good defense, and both teams like to play pretty fast, especially the Bulls. And both teams are top three in terms of pace. So I think this is probably the ideal game in terms of game environment. Kirk mentioned Giddey's out, so I think that helps White as well as LaVine. But I think White is probably my favorite mid-range play. That he's not going to be contrarian by any means, but he is that pivot off of Sexton if you're looking to get a little bit different there. Trae Young, all things to be said about that game, obviously benefit Trae Young as well. De'Aaron Fox matchup against the Pistons here. And when you look at De'Aaron Fox, I think the most intriguing thing for him is the price, 8-9. I think that's just maybe a couple $100 too cheap, and then 10% projected ownership. So I think he is worth at least a shot there. Obviously, you can bank on mid 30s minutes to high 30s minutes if that game stays close. And the Pistons have been playing pretty good as of late. So they just beat the Lakers a couple games ago. Now it's only 5.5 point spread here. So I am expecting the game to stay close. And in the game that stays close, Fox can play 37 to 39 minutes. And it really wouldn't be all that surprising. Same thing goes for Cade Cunningham on the other end. He's just a little bit more expensive there. Tougher for him to compete with LaMelo Ball, who played the same Washington team exactly a week ago on crunch time. We talked about LaMelo Ball there, who had a massive game. I think he scored 70 DK against the same Washington team, 69.3 on FanDuel, 69 on DK. So, yeah, obviously Miller is going to be back for this one, but he's still a fantastic player.
Yeah, good stuff. Did get some news. Ben Simmons is in. And Trae Young is in as well. So just a couple notes there on some stuff we were waiting for. Take me to shooting guard, Kyle. What are we doing there?
Yeah, so shooting guard, I don't think I mentioned DeLon Wright there at the point guard position. I meant to mention him. I actually misspoke earlier saying he's going to step into the starting lineup. He didn't start last game, but he did play 25 and a half minutes. Ryan Rollins at shooting guard. So both of these guys are going to benefit with Dame Lillard out. But I do think that Rollins probably starts again. I think these guys probably split the minutes there at the point guard position fairly evenly. So I think both of those guys are perfectly fine and in play. Kirk mentioned Taylor Horton-Tucker as well, so I like him. Colin Sexton, another guy who you play at shooting guard and point guard. Jalen Suggs, also point guard, shooting guard, eligible. Without these guys out for the Magic, he obviously has been stepping up in terms of usage. The minutes aren't really, all that extensive, I suppose. Like, we would like to see him playing 35, 36 plus minutes every night. This game does have a 2.5 point spread, so maybe this is a game where he can stay in there for a few more minutes there, maybe play 35 plus minutes. But either way, he's going to have a lot of usage when he is on the floor. Kobe White, I mentioned earlier. In terms of some other value options, Fee Mikhailuk could potentially benefit from these injuries that Utah has. He's 4K on FanDuel, 25 minutes where we haven't projected, so I think he's a value option. A couple other mid-range names that I like: Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, Brandon Miller, and then Amen Thompson, who I like quite a bit here. We did just get news that Tari Eason is also out. So
let's go. I'm on that Amen train all day long. Praying to the heavens, Amen going to deliver me another 50 fantasy point performance here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he probably didn't even need the Tari Eason news to be out with Dylan Brooks out. He was already probably going to be in line for big minutes. But with Tari Eason out, and I know, Amen Thompson's a point guard, but he can play the small forward position as well, which is obviously where Tari Eason was going to play. And honestly, they can even run smaller lineups with Thompson at the 4 if they wanted to. I don't think they'll do that a whole lot this game, but if they wanted to, they could, because of how good of a rebounder and defender he is at multiple positions. So I like him quite a bit.
P.S. He is my new favorite player in the NBA. I go through these, they cycle, but right now, that dude, the way he plays defense and the way he just does everything he's phenomenal to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Kirkwood, what are we doing at shooting guard? What do you like?
All the same things. Zach LaVine again. Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson, I probably prefer playing him at small forward because it's just such a weaker spot over there. I think he's probably a complete lock, actually, for small forward. Dyson Daniels is a guy. This should be a good, fun game, this Atlanta-Chicago game. Chicago's probably going to be a little sloppier now. And Dyson Daniels on FanDuel is a guy that can get a lot of steals and defensive stats. So I like that. As we mentioned, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Ryan Rollins, Tyler Hero. Nah, he was looking good earlier, but now with the news keeps going. The good thing is his ownership should be absolutely tiny, and he could go off in this game with Jimmy Butler out, so I don't mind that. Brandon Miller, if you want to fade. He's more of a play on FanDuel than DraftKings. He's priced up much higher on DraftKings, but if you want to fade LaMelo, Brandon Miller would be the guy to put in that lineup.
Okay.
But yeah, and then Middleton again.
All right. Was that small forward? I got confused. I lost.
Yeah, that was shooting.
Right, small forward.
They're going to be a lot of the same names again. Small forward. So Zach LaVine again. Amen Thompson, Lock City. Jalen Johnson is a good play. Scotty Barnes is in play. Lauri Markkanen. I got on him coming back early, but he's now put up a few good games, and so he's not going to be quite a secret. He's now chalk again. 7,400 is still completely good price, especially with Clarkson out. Jalen Williams, RJ Barrett, and I'll let Kyle go from there.
Okay, Kyle, your thoughts there at small forward. And I don't know what position Cam Whitmore is, but I need to ask you about him. The last time we were in the spot, he got 27 minutes, put up 32.5 fantasy points at Stone Cold Min, but now he's not the Stone Cold Min anymore. So now I'm not sure I'm on board.
Yeah, he is small forward on FanDuel, 3,800. Looks like Taylor already has him tagged. So, I think you could have made a case to play him even before that news with Tari Eason out, but obviously it would be more of a, maybe hoping that the game goes sideways. He gets a few more minutes at the end of the game. But, now with Tari Eason out, that's probably 23, 24 minutes vacated now, in addition to Dylan Brooks. So Whitmore really could see mid-20s minutes here, and maybe even a little bit more if the game blows out. So, yeah, I like that call quite a bit, 3,800 on FanDuel. In terms of some other names, Markkanen, Jalen Johnson, Scotty Barnes, probably my 3 favorite spend-ups here. I think all those guys are fantastic. I do think Markkanen's price is a little bit too cheap over on FanDuel. Great matchup here against Portland. Obviously, we like to pick on these two teams here. These two kinds of teams when the game's supposed to be close. A lot of these teams aren't used to playing in close games because when they're playing good teams, they get blown out. So I do like Utah here against Portland. Levine, Miller, those guys are already mentioned. Thompson, if you play him at shooting guard and small forward. I do like the comment that Kirk made about playing him at small forward, especially on FanDuel there. So I like that call there. And then I guess a really value name. I do think I like Whitmore more here in the spot. I think he just has higher upside. But Julian Phillips also in play, 3,700 on FanDuel. He's going to benefit from all these Chicago guys missing. We have him at 25 minutes currently. And like I mentioned, I do think that game environment is going to be one that is very good for fantasy.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to power forward.
Yeah, a lot of names that I mentioned. I did just miss one at small forward again. Jaime Jaquez, I do wanted to mention there with no Jimmy Butler. We have him at 28 minutes. Like him quite a bit. But power forward, Bobby Portis is kind of going to be the golden standard here. You can play him at power forward and center, but obviously center position on FanDuel, you can only play one, so definitely prefer to play him at the power forward position if you can. Markkanen, Jalen Johnson, Scotty Barnes, these guys all carry over to power forward as well. FanDuel gave Sabonis power forward eligibility. I'm not sure if that's a recent thing or if they've had that for a while, but that's kind of funny to me. It's like when last year they were giving Jarrett Allen power forward eligibility, but it does at least add some flexibility there. So Sabonis, difficult to play him on this slate just because there's a lot of good spend-up options, but I do think he'll be at least a little bit contrarian. Some mid-range or value options. Pat Williams, 24 minutes is where we have him projected currently. He's going to benefit from, Josh Giddey and some other guys being out there. Lonzo Ball, another one. DeMar DeRozan, RJ Barrett, Jalen Williams, these guys in the mid-range. And then some more salary relief guys. Kelly Olynyk starting to see his minutes creep up. We have him at 20 now. Center and power forward eligible like him, and then DeAndre Hunter as well.
Okay. Kirkwood, your thoughts on power forward?
Crazy-eyed Bobby Portis. Love him. Scotty Barnes. Like him. Jalen Johnson. Love him. Lauri Markkanen, like Kyle said, is still too cheap. Love him. Triple J. Kind of a more tournament play in this slate, but could absolutely feast against Toronto. Jalen Williams. Let's see who else. DeMar DeRozan, certainly in play. I'm scared of playing Sabonis tonight, but I definitely think he's in play. I'm just kind of scared of the injuries, from him. But if he does tough it out, which he always does. But that's about it. I think. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Take me to the center spot, We'll move on after that.
Yeah, center. So obviously you can play Bobby Portis here, but you're probably better off playing on power forward and plugging in Walker Kessler, who should be a phenomenal play on this Utah Portland game. Just could be just a terrible game that is just an absolute feast for DFS. So I like Walker Kessler. Clint Capella. 5,100 is just too cheap in this matchup against the Bulls here. Like that. Sengun, obviously. I already know he's in your lineup, Roth, right? And,
naturally.
Yeah, smart. And Vooch, we should mention because of everyone out in general. And then, I don't really have any other interest. I do always have interest in Brook Lopez. If this game stays close, he's going to smash, especially get that little revenge narrative there, too, against his old former Brooklyn squad. So a long time ago with that, but probably still likes to bring it against them. I know he was loved there. And, my girl, one of her best friends is, the assistant for Sean Marks, who's the GM. I'm always asking her for information. So whenever she comes home around the holidays, she always talks about who they love. Brook Lopez was everybody loved Brook Lopez. So I bet you it's warm and fuzzy. I bet you guys a good game tonight.
Okay, get some shots up. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Kirkwood, any other names? Sorry, Kirkwood. Anything else you want to add at center?
Kyle for center, right?
Yeah, Kyle. What do you got at center?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same names that Kirk mentioned there. Obviously, Bobby Portis, again, I do prefer him at power forward. Some other center-only guys. Walker Kessler, I like again. Mentioned the Utah and Portland game, a game that I would expect to stay close with a 3-point spread. He benefits there. Only 7K on FanDuel as well. Şengün, Capella at 5-1. And then the last name I'll throw out there is Zach Edey at 5-3. He's finally seeing more consistent minutes. He's been around 24 to 26 minutes in the last 4 games. Obviously, easy to get in foul trouble for him, but if you can avoid that, it's a pretty good spot for him here against Toronto.
Okay, good stuff. I did get a note that Jamal Shed and Walter are out for Toronto. So I don't know if that makes anybody bump up. And before we go to DK, which we will do very shortly here, can we run through what we're doing with Orlando? Is there a guy there who I want or need? Because I don't know. I feel like I should have interest with Franz and Paulo out, but is everybody just priced up, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean the price, they have had time to sort of match up with the current scenarios, but it's also a really ugly game. Only a 208 total last I ran the numbers there for on the Vegas line. So really ugly game. Both teams bottom 5 in terms of pace, top 10 in terms of defensive efficiency. I think the guy that I would like the most would be Suggs. And then if you're looking for a value piece in this game, Trevelin Queen, who I didn't mention, he actually has been cracking the starting lineup. It's only 3,600 on DraftKings, so he'd be a guy that you could throw in there for Orlando. But other than that, it's just it's not the most ideal game script. And then a lot of these guys who are actually starting aren't really seeing big minutes because they're shifting around a lot of their rotations, even if they're starting or not.
Okay, I might be in. You may have sold me on Queen here after dropping 30 fantasy points at similar salary last game. So, all right, I think I'm going to be in on that as a little value piece. Let's go through DK. We're going to do it guards combined just to speed things up, to save time for some questions. Guards combined, and then we'll go forwards, and then we'll go center. Kyle, start us out. DK guards.
Yeah, so at the spend ups, the 3 I'm looking at are Trae Young, LaMelo, and SGA. I think I would rank them in that order. Obviously, splitting hairs, Trae Young's the cheapest of the bunch, though. So he's probably my favorite pretty easily because of that price and that elite game environment. Thompson is shooting guard and small forward eligible. 6K on DraftKings, so even cheaper over there. We actually bumped him up to 35 minutes now. And if this game stays close, which with the 7.5 spread, would expect it to, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Thompson play like 36, 37 plus minutes here. Jalen Suggs also point guard eligible. Kobe White in the mid-range, 6'2", like him quite a bit there, especially as potentially a contrarian play. Jalen Green, same sort of deal as that pivot there. If you are looking to pivot off of that range, Jalen Green at 6'3", I don't mind him there. Scotty Barnes, point guard and small forward eligible, so he fits both roles here. And then Van Vliet, Zach LaVine up in the mid-range that I would also look at. And then in terms of the value guys there, we talked about Queen. I think you can definitely make a case for him there. Malcolm Brogdon at 5'3" is a contrarian guy that I do have some interest in as well. And then Ryan Rollins, DeLon Wright, both of those Milwaukee guards, you can definitely make a case for here.
Okay, great. Kirkwood, what are you doing guard, that is point and shooting guard combined on DK?
All right, I'm in top. I'll just the chalkiest guys of the slate should be Amon Thompson, Kobe White, Zach LaVine at this position. All pretty major chalk here. I think all of them are really, really strong chalk. If you want to take some other plays, pivots, whatnot, I guess I would go. Obviously LaMelo is an awesome play. Trae Young is an awesome play. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great play. Ja, maybe Tyler Hero. Other than that, going down to like Jordan Poole at 10% ownership around that should be good, especially if you want to just, run him back with LaMelo. I think that could be pretty fun. Maybe Queen on the really cheap end, like Kyle was saying, or Mason Daniels is kind of one of a mid-tier play.
Okay. Fully on board. Oh, my lineup just came together so perfectly. Perfect amount of money. Oh, God, that feels good when that happens. Okay, well, let's see. Kyle, your thoughts at forward. Actually, Kirkwood, your thoughts at forward. That is both.
We're combining the forward, small forward and
forwards. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. All right. Bobby Portis again. Power forward. Amon Thompson is small forward eligible. Both those guys are chalk and ridiculously good chalk. Zach LaVine again, small forward or shooting guard. Jalen Johnson, Talen Horton-Tucker. I mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr., who I like a lot for tournaments. Alex Sarr, could benefit in this matchup. And I always play. He's just cheap enough that if he just sinks some threes, he's willing to shoot the threes. He doesn't always make them. He can make some threes. He can blow through that price tag. So I always mention him. Jaime Jaquez, who Kyle said before, is a play he's going to be like a little pretty chalky, but he would have been like a lot chalkier if we didn't get someone more of this news. So I think he becomes a stronger play because of that from an ownership standpoint. And then if I didn't mention Jalen Williams, you can always play him.
Okay, good stuff. Kyle, your favorites at both small forward and power forward.
Yeah, at the top end, Bobby Portis, Jalen Johnson, those are probably the two spend ups there. Zach LaVine also 7-1. You can make a case for there. Those are the three guys above 7K that I like the most. Amin Thompson, we've talked about plenty. Taylor Horton Tucker here at 3,700. Jalen Williams is also.
Do you like that THT play? Like, do you feel comfortable playing that guy? Because I just look at him visually as a human and say, I can't play him. You just don't look like a guy who belongs on my roster, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, he's the modern day Jared Dudley there. But I will say he is a guy who in years past we've seen him at least have upside on a permanent basis. Now his minutes are very inconsistent. I will say even right now on the Chicago team because they can easily mix and match guys. But with Buzelis also out, that sort of takes a depth option that they have to steal away minutes there. So THT, I do like him more than Phillips, and I do think he's a good value play here. If you did want to maybe fade that chalk, because I do think he will be very chalky. So a few names that we've already talked about a little bit. Pat Williams is a direct pivot there, a little bit more expensive, but on the same team. So if THT does lose minutes, it could be to Patrick Williams. Cam Whitmore at 4K. I think he is a very good pivot here. We have him at 21 minutes right now, but again, he can easily play into more minutes. And I do think he has upside for 24 to 26 minutes, maybe even more if the game environment, either blows out or he's just playing well. So I like Whitmore quite a bit. Jaime Jaquez is another pivot there, 4,100. I like him as well. Kirk made a great point. He was probably going to be chalkier before all the Chicago news came in and also the Milwaukee news. So, he's going to be a guy who everyone did like and now probably won't play as much. So I think that's a good option there. And then a couple other spend-up options. Jalen Williams, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes. I do prefer Portis and Jalen Johnson. I guess one thing on Jalen Johnson real quick and playing him with Trae Young, I'm sort of torn on this myself. I think you could play both of these guys because I do think the game environment is a really good one, but I'm probably separating the two just because of the price on both of them. So I do think if I'm not playing Trae Young, Jalen Johnson's a guy that I need in my lineups.
Okay. Do you get a question here, THT or Rollins? And maybe I just didn't hear, but is Rollins on your radar on DK or was that just a FanDuel play?
Yeah, he's definitely in play on DraftKings as well, 4,500. We have him at 26 minutes. Again, I do think him and DeLon Wright will split those minutes. THT, I do think, is the permanent higher upside option, but I do think Rollins also is a pretty good permanent option and safer minutes option. So, he's a little bit more expensive, but if salary doesn't matter, I'm taking Rollins, but you can also get nearly $1,000 for THT. So point per dollar, I prefer THT. Raw projection, I prefer Rollins.
Okay, good stuff. I want your thoughts on center, although I just saw from Steve that it is the holidays and people should be in a giving mood. And yet we only have 90 likes on this free content. I heard a rumor from our bosses that if we didn't get 100 likes every show, they were just going to shut it down. No more free content for anybody. Going to put it behind the paywall. If you want to keep this show free without me giving fake threats, make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like, and subscribe button, because seriously, we want to get this out to as many eyeballs as possible. Please hit that thumbs up.
A lot goes in behind the scenes here, too. I mean, I went to Supercuts today and got a haircut for the first
It looks great too. Yeah, that actually may be the reason why we have so few likes. I don't know, Kirkwood.
I've hit the total. I don't get IDGAF. I don't care anymore.
What does it cost you to get a haircut at Supercuts these days?
It was like $24 or something, and then
it's still kind of a lot.
I tipped her $10 because it wasn't the worst haircut I've ever had in my life. So I was like, all right, it was holidays, but
that's a lot for Supercuts.
Yeah. It was called Great Cuts Ltd, but it's like the same thing.
Yeah, it's the knockoff Supercuts.
Yeah, it's even worse. It's next to a Panera and a Chipotle.
That's amazing.
At least it's not in a grocery store. There's definitely some haircut places inside a grocery store.
Yeah. That's good to know. Yeah. My haircut's up to like 35, and I was like, this is getting a bit egregious. But if knockoff Supercuts is charging 24, then I guess I'm okay with it. Okay, let's go to center. Kyle, what are we doing at the 5?
Yeah, I mean, all these names we've talked about already, a lot of them carry over from FanDuel. Bobby Portis, we've talked about enough. He's also center eligible, but you can easily play him at power forward. The guys who are center only, Şengün, Vucevic, Capella are the guys that I like the most. Capella is actually in the current optimal as well as Şengün. So both of these guys, 2 centers in the current optimal in our projections there. Bam Adebayo, again, already talked about how ugly that game environment is. 208 total. That's probably one of the lower totals we've had all year. But still, with no Jimmy Butler, I think he's in play. And then again, I guess I'll bang the drum for Zach Edey one more time. We have him for 25 minutes. I do think he's going to be a guy who's a better permanent producer than what we've seen so far in his short career. So I want to continue to be early on this one.
Okay, I like that call. Kirkwood, your favorites at the 5.
Portis, if you do play him there, but play him power forward and then stick Şengün in your lineup and call it a day. But you can also play Clint Capella. You can also play Brolo. Isaiah Hartenstein, I think, is a solid play. The guy just produces when he's out there. I think it's a good matchup with the Pacers here. Vooch, for sure. I like the Edey call. I like, and I'll say Alexander Sarr again at 5,400. But if you're playing him at power forward.
Yeah.
So don't really worry about that. Yeah, and Bam is there, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Hartenstein actually really good at basketball, by the way. Every time I watch that guy play, I'm like,
impressive.
You're a legit starting caliber basketball player. I just think he needs more minutes. And I don't know. Is he getting all the minutes these days?
Yeah, he's getting minutes. He's getting good minutes. And the first time I watched him play with OKC, I was like, this guy's going to produce on this team. And he has been.
Yeah, good. Deserves it. All right. Let's see. We got 7-ish minutes until lock. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. We're going to take some QQs. So drop all the questions that you got. I am starting in the RG Discord. That's right, Steve. After 2 weeks, I figured out how to download Discord on my new computer. So make sure you are, thank you. Thank you. Make sure you're dropping your questions first in the Discord, and then I'm coming over to the YouTube. Had we had over 100 likes, I might have started at the YouTube, but this is what you get for not hitting thumbs up. There's actually no questions in the Discord. Here we go. D large field tournaments. Hartenstein, Triple J, or Levine? Ooh.
I'll go Triple J there.
All right, Kirkwood. Let's see what we've got. Scrolling up. People talking haircuts. So is Şengün chalk? He's the same price as Ja. It just sounds nuts saying that out loud. This question from Trick Myers. Kirkwood, Hartenstein's not, or Şengün isn't chalk, is he?
We have him at like 16% right now.
Sorry,
so
I lost you.
Mid-range chalk there.
Okay. Kirkwood, who would you rather play? Şengün at, let's say, 15 to 20%, or Ja? They're the same price, apparently.
Yeah, it's interesting when you break it down like that, but it's also it's where you've got, a lot of opportunity costs, and that's at the center position. So I would I like the idea. I think it's safer to play Şengün. I would play Şengün, but I think there's certainly a lot of tournament upside with Ja.
Okay. Let's see. Your best payout. This is from Paul. We had a few really random questions. Who goes to the dentist to get their haircut? What about Jeremy Lin? If Sabonis, I think we're 10 years off there.
I think you might mean Alex Len.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. What about Len if Sabonis is out? I thought he was trolling me. But
yeah.
Okay, Kyle, what about Len if Sabonis is out?
He could have been. I don't want to take any credit away because that would be a pretty good troll. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with Kirk. I think Sabonis plays, but they're not even on the DraftKings slate anyways. This must be a FanDuel question. But yeah, I don't think Len's going to be a guy that's going to project for a ton of minutes, even if Sabonis is out, though.
Okay, very good. Your favorite pay up, DK GPP. I will ask it to you both. Kyle, you get to start. Your favorite spend up in a DK GPP.
Yeah, I probably would say Trae Young, but if you're looking for a more contrarian option, which I'm guessing that's what you're doing if you're talking GPP, I think it would be Scotty Barnes for me at 9-1. I think a lot of people are going to be paying up at the point guard position, and rightfully so. SGA, Ball, Trae Young all project really well, but Scotty Barnes is the guy that I like quite a bit here.
Okay. Kirkwood, your favorite spend up on a DK GPP. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to say Şengün.
Okay. Just looking at my lineup, Lonzo.
Against BC.
Or LaMelo. That's not a very exciting one. Is that the chalky spend up, LaMelo?
He's kind of chalky, but he's definitely a good spender. But
Yeah.
he's priced the mat. He's 10K now.
Yeah. Let's see. 3-4 minutes until lock. Got a few more questions in the RG Discord with the cool kids. Let's see. Kirkwood, do you like going Bane and Sar in a DK single entry, or am I getting too cute?
No, let's do it. I like that.
Okay, great. Kyle, large field GPP. I've got 3,700 left. Can I get a play, please? Also, how many bulls can we play? So first off, 3,700 in a DK GPP.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I'm guessing Taylor Horton Tucker might already be in your lineup.
It's Queen. It's Queen, baby.
Yeah.
Play the Queen.
Yeah, that because the next option would, based on projections, would be Julian Phillips, but he's also on the same team as THC. You don't want to play both those guys together. So, yeah, I think it would be Traveling Queen.
Do it. Ride with me. Ride with me, friend. We're doing this.
We have them at sub 1% projected ownership too. I like it.
Oh God, that makes me terrified. I'm just gonna get 5 minutes and just absolutely tank. How many bulls can we play? Was the next question, Kyle. How many bulls are you cool playing?
I think it all depends on which ones we're talking. Like for me, I'm probably not playing any more than one or two of the value guys. So THT, Julian Phillips, Patrick Williams. Even if you want to throw Dalen Terry in there, not recommending that at all, but THT, I would say one max of THT, Phillips, and Patrick Williams, then probably one of the big three. So 2 or 3 at most.
Okay, we'll go to Jay Sam's question here. FanDuel large field GPP. Kirkwood, do you think a Capella fade is viable due to him splitting minutes, and is Edie a good pivot if playing JJ and Trey?
Certainly. I know Kyle already broke that down for us, so I'm sure Kyle's on board with that too. Edie's a good play.
Yep, very good. We got a couple football questions coming in here. St. Keenan Allen at captain tonight. Let's see. Here we go. Turner or Goga in a FanDuel tournament, Kirkwood? Turner or Goga?
I'll go Turner for a game environment.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, by the way, if you're asking questions about football, having comments about football, our football show, legitimate full show, just talking about Thursday Night Football, starts in roughly 15 minutes. So
Bears winning outright tonight.
Ooh. I don't know who they're playing.
Seahawks.
Because I'm so sick of saying, God, Caleb sucks. I want him finally to put it together.
You're ready. Yeah. Let's see. Turner or Goga? Did we just do that one, Turner or Goga?
Yeah.
Okay, then Naja Boy says, Kyle, Bilal Coulibaly or Kobe White, DK single entry small field?
Kobe White for me. Kobe White is one of my favorite mid-range plays tonight.
Okay, got a couple more. Kyle, FanDuel, Jalen Johnson or Trae Young?
That one's tough. I definitely prefer Trae Young, but I do like Jalen Johnson as well. But I'll take Trae.
Okay. Trick says, DK GPP, how much Barnes do you have? You were higher on Barnes, right, Kyle? How much do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go overboard because, again, Kirk mentioned the perfect word opportunity cost. There's a lot of guys in that range, especially those two Hawks I just mentioned. But right now we have them at, I think, 8.9%. I don't mind being double that or right around 20%.
Okay. Kirkwood, again, is this a fake name? I don't know. Any Gary Bird love since Boggy?
No, so he
is this Larry Bird's kid, Gary?
This is Gary Bird. No, this is this is a nickname, Gary.
Yeah, Garrison
Matthews. Garrison Matthews. We've been calling him Gary Bird. Chop and I have been calling him that.
It's glorious. Okay.
Since he got drafted, since he went to Houston.
I've completely missed that, but I love it. Okay, any Gary Bird since Boggy?
He went like 6 of 7 or 6 of 6 from 3 the other night. I don't remember, but he was lighting it up. Like it could happen. He earned some more minutes tonight, but it's not the safest play.
Okay, all right, we're not against it. Derek says Kirk has the best nicknames. I mean, it's tough to argue coming off Gary Bird. So I approve. Okay, hey, we've got football content coming up in a few minutes here. I'm going to push out a football forecast. We could see some fog. There's some dense fog around Chicago. Is it going to be so dense that you literally can't see the ball and you're going to run a route and the receivers can't see the football? Probably not, but maybe you need to figure that out. I could see some drizzle, some mist as well. So weather will matter. I will be tweeting or Xing at KevinRothWx prior to the game. But we are going to X on out of here. So for Kyle and for Kirkwood and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow, but stick around. Football content coming up in about 10 to 15 minutes. You have been